Today we're spending a little bit of time talking about time. It's a strange concept to think about the length of life, the awareness, and how we go through this notion of past to present to future, or from future to present and to past. It's said that as we age, we see time going faster. Our grandparents, then our parents, and then ourselves, we realize that in a way, time flies. But does time really fly? Time is measured, of course, by an atomic clock. It's measured by many means as a constant. And even if the laws of physics have very small variations, depending on where we are and depending on the interaction with other objects, time is relatively constant. So this idea of an acceleration is really in our minds and in our perception of reality, that as we go through life, we have less and less time relative to childhood, where sometimes we're bored, sometimes we have memories of having plenty of resources ahead of us, and that minutes look like hours. Whereas when we're adults, sometimes hours look like minutes. Time can be a little bit challenging to represent. We know what length is, and we know what width is, and we know what height represents on 3 dimensions. But it's sometimes difficult to think about time as a 4th dimension and how to represent it. The mathematicians, the physicists know how to do this with equations. They know how to do it in abstract, and in our heads we can also represent it. We can also represent the passing of time. But it's sometimes difficult to represent it on a piece of paper or graphically in a way that is easy to comprehend. Time is also, as far as humans are concerned, or living species are concerned, very relative. We can think about the past and memories that are imprinted in our brain, and that makes a part of who we are. A recent study by the MIT showed that they were able to implant memories of events that did not take place inside the brain of mice. And this begs many questions. If the MIT or researchers or science in general can manipulate our memories and create a perception of reality, what is reality and what is the making of our memory? The future is the other way around. It's made of anticipation, it's made of dreams, it's made of events that have not happened yet, but that we forecast, that we think will materialize. And it's a way to bring time that does not exist yet into a present moment that does not exist yet until it comes to us in its actual implementation and in its actual reality. So between past, which is nebulous, and the future, which is also nebulous, all we have that is more certain, perhaps, is the moment. It's right now. And how do we know that what we feel right now, the colors we're seeing, the objects, the people, all the senses around us, how do we know that this is the correct version, the correct reality? Or is it just the way that our senses have given us that perception of a reality that may be different? It's difficult for the brain to comprehend the scales of time. Time can be so short. It could be the fraction of a second, like this new particle, like the Higgs boson particle that you might have heard of. The Higgs boson particle has a lifespan that is so tiny. It is such a tiny fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a second. That is, it's immeasurable for the human brain. It's only through measurement tools, very sophisticated measurement tools and special conditions, special environments, that we can measure these particles. On the other hand, the universe is 13.8 billion years old. The Earth is several billion years old. And the civilization, the written records we have, are just a few thousand years old. So all of our civilization, as humans, as far as we can record and remember and find, is a very tiny fraction of the length, of the immensity of the universe, the immensity of our past, and how it's only through telescopes and also through tools beyond our senses that we can comprehend the meaning of time and the depth of time that alone our senses cannot perceive. This allows us, these tools allow us to extend our capabilities. Through science, we can extend our vision into the past. We can find fossils, and by observing fossils, by observing telescopes, by observing the stars, we travel through time. We go back, by observing them, we go back to scales and moments that are so far beyond the perceivable past and what our human brain can remember, because our lives are so short. But it also extends our lives. It's also an extension of our awareness. We can extend our awareness all the way back to the Big Bang. And the Big Bang is only a horizon. Something else could be before the Big Bang. It's the big debate. We can only see as far as that horizon, which is the observable. We can only observe up to that point. But it's possible that something was before that. We just don't know. We have no means of observation. And likewise, when we look at the extremely small or the extremely short, we can also look at time in a way that our consciousness and our awareness is just vertigo small. It's vertigo big for the universe, and it's vertigo small for particles like the Higgs boson, which is a tiny fraction of a second. And then beyond that, we live in a culture of interruptions. And back to the first discussion point that we started with, that time seems to accelerate. Time seems to accelerate in many cases because we're not able to breathe, stop, slow down, and let our consciousness realize the present moment and turn off notifications, stop the treadmill, and realizing that the moment is what we have. The past is behind us. The future hasn't happened. We can only perceive time in extreme scales and its full reality through tools. Our brain allows us to experiment the present moment, to meditate, and to slow down time to its reality, like when we were a child, that we had no such emergency, no such vision, no such impression of time accelerating, when we were perceiving time as what it is right now, just by meditation. I hope you can meditate, and I hope this was a good discussion of this very strange unit of measurement called time.